Eric. Visit them online today at thetroubadour.com.
Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian Restaurant, serving the best fried chicken in town. Fresh Louisiana seafood as well as delicious Italian dishes. Try our daily chef specials or an overstuffed po' boy. Open Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. with 2 locations to serve you. In Bucktown at 1001 Live Oak between Bonneville and Lake Avenue, or in Kenner at 910 West Esplanade at Chateau Boulevard. Let Mr. Ed's cater your next event. Mr. Ed's Seafood and Italian Restaurant. 2 great locations, 1 great menu. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House, now open in the quarter 7 days a week at 512 Bienville.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-798-2477. 800-798-2477. 800-798-2477.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Actress Cynthia Nixon kicking off her campaign for governor of New York.
But I am not just an actor or a mother or a wife. I'm also a New Yorker. And I'm running for governor because I love this state.
The Sex and the City star will be challenging New York's current governor, Andrew Cuomo, later this year in the state's Democratic primary. She was born and raised in Manhattan and is married to wife Christine Marinoni, who is a prominent LGBTQ advocate who worked for New York City. Nixon has 3 children. There are reports Donald Trump Jr. had an affair with musician Aubrey O'Day back in 2011 and 2012. The president's oldest son is currently in the middle of a divorce from his wife, Vanessa. According to Us Weekly, Trump met O'Day on the set of Celebrity Apprentice, and they hit it off. This year's Tribeca Film Festival will highlight the anniversaries of Schindler's List and Scarface. Director Steven Spielberg will be on hand at the festival with Schindler's List star Liam Neeson to mark 25 years, while Brian De Palma makes an appearance with Al Pacino and Michelle Pfeiffer to talk about Scarface on its 35th anniversary.
I got this feeling inside my bones.
Pop superstar Justin Timberlake teaming up with the mayor of Washington, D.C. to promote Saturday's March for Our Lives, the youth anti-gun violence rally expected to be massive. Tens of thousands of young people, their parents, and teachers calling for stricter gun control. That's entertainment. Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of housing discrimination.
It's so wrong.
But who has the power to stop this?
You do. The law is on your side. If you've been discriminated against because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status, file a complaint with HUD. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
Visit HUD.gov/fair housing, a public service message from HUD and the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Duncan Holder back at you on Wednesday, March 21st. I'm Jeff Duncan alongside Clyde Verdan. We are missing Larry Holder this morning. He is out on assignment at the Tom Benson visitation, of course, which begins today in, I don't know, is that Mid-City or where's the Notre Dame Seminary located? Is that officially?
Yeah, it's Mid-City.
Mid-City, kind of uptown, almost Fontainebleau area.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Larry's going to check in with us around 10:20 from the Tom Benson visitation, kind of give us a lay of the land. And we've got a great show lined up. In addition to Larry, we're going to hear from Todd Graffanini in the first hour around 10:45, discuss a little LSU Tulane baseball tonight. And then at the top of the 11 o'clock hour, 11:05 precisely, Will Guillory. It wouldn't be Wednesday without Will Guillory making an appearance to talk Pelicans. The Pelicans, of course, got a big win last night. Kind of had to grind one out against the Dallas Mavericks without Drew Holiday in the lineup, and you can really see what Drew Holiday means to this team when he's not out there. But nevertheless, they took care of business, got the win, and really can't afford any slip-ups against teams like the Mavericks. So that was important for them to get on the winning side of the ledger. And they also got some help from the Boston Celtics, who had a crazy rally in the last minute to beat Oklahoma City. And that was a huge loss for Oklahoma City because they looked like they had that game won. And our boy, the volume shooter, Carmelo Anthony, bricks 2 free throws that could have sealed the win. I'm not a huge Carmelo Anthony fan, as you can tell, Clyde. Never been on his train, but nevertheless, good for the Pelicans that the Thunder goes down. So we want to hear from you as always. So if you want to join the program, we got some time here in the first hour. You can always check in on our listener line, 504-260-1280. We're going to talk Saints as well, as always, and trying to get into a little bit of some draft talk early on. But, Clyde, what did you think of that Pelicans win last night? I thought it was just kind of one of those ugly wins. You could tell they were really missing Drew Holiday, but I thought they did what they had to do.
Yeah, the biggest thing about, once we found out late yesterday that Drew Holiday was going to miss his first game of the year due to flu-like symptoms, that meant that the dynamic of this team was going to change. So that pretty much meant that Anthony Davis was going to be the primary option offensively, and everything was going to try to work through him. And, that definitely was the case. In 35 minutes, he scored 37 points, 15 to 21 from the floor, 2 of 3 from 3, 5 of 7 from the line, and 8 rebounds. So that was huge, but it also meant that other people were going to have to step up, specifically guard play. Rajon Rondo played 30 minutes last night. And dropped 19 points on 8 of 14 shooting, which to me was the biggest storyline of the game between him and Ian Clark. Ian Clark also off the bench coming to drop 9 of 15 from the floor, 19 points as well. Check again, or as we've been corrected before, Sheck, or as I like to call him, Check D.
Yes.
He came off the bench, got 10. You got 8 from Mirotic. You got 6 from Larry Drew. That's what you want to see down the stretch from a Pelicans team right now that's missing one of its biggest keys in Drew Holiday. Hopefully, last night was the only game he's going to miss, because obviously you've got 2 big games again still, because you're turning right back around. You're playing tonight against Indiana, and you're coming right back on Thursday, and you're playing against the Lakers. So hopefully, if Drew's feeling much better today, which if he is, great. If he's not, I don't think that it's going to be that big of a loss in terms of after what you saw last night, but still, you hope to have him back in the lineup tonight.
Yeah, and after that result, the Pelicans now, and it's kind of almost foolish to even look at the standings because they change day by day. The Western Conference is just so crazy, but the Pels now are in the 5th seed spot, tied with San Antonio with a 41-30 record, but they're only a game behind Oklahoma City, who's at number 4 spot. And they're only a half game ahead, they being the Pelicans and the Spurs, only a half game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 41-31. So between Oklahoma City, New Orleans, San Antonio, Minnesota, you've got basically 1.5 games of separation. So things can turn on a dime depending on the results of a given night. And as you mentioned, the Pels play tonight. They play the makeup game against the Pacers from, what are we calling that? Catch Basin night?
Catch Basin Gate?
Yeah.
Drip Gate?
The only NBA game ever to be rained out. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's very unique to have a rain-out game in the NBA. But we had it here in New Orleans because we are unique, and things happen here that don't happen anywhere else. And then they turn around and play the Lakers on the following night. And I'm sure Alvin Gentry is thinking about minutes and how he can utilize his bench, because this is kind of an unprecedented stretch here where you play 3 games in 3 nights.
I'm interested to see, because Solomon Hill played 11 minutes last night. So clearly they're starting to hopefully get him a feel for game action, being able to get on the court, see some minutes. I mean, he only took 2 shots. He was 1 of 2 from the field, got a rebound, had an assist, so only 2 points. But still, the biggest thing for him is he started. He started the game, and that is a good sign, because he played 11 minutes last night. Maybe he plays 15 minutes tonight. Maybe he plays 17, 18, maybe 20 minutes on Thursday against the Lakers. And again, I think the biggest thing for him that we talked about that was missing with this team was a guy like Solomon Hill who can play defense on these really, really rangy stretch guys on the other team. Like, you need to have that guy, like a Trevor Reeves, guys like that, guys who can go out, a Tony Allen who we had at some point, guys who can go and guard the other team's stretch guy that can cause problems and matchup nightmares for teams like the Pelicans. And I mean, if you look at across the board, because this Dallas team, again, we've talked about it, this Dallas team is on its last legs in terms of with Dirk Nowitzki. This could be his last year. I can't see him going past this year. But if you look at the point spreads, I mean, between him and Harrison Barnes both having 19 points, the only other person that had more than 15 was Yogi Ferrell. Yeah, Yogi Ferrell was the only other guy, and he came off the bench to do that. So that's, in my mind, a really good defensive night for the Pelicans to be able to make other guys have to make shots while also at the same time getting so much production from your guys off the bench.
Well, Solo Hill, he's the definition of a glue guy, the definition of a kind of role player that you need in the NBA. The Pels, of course, they're missing Holiday, but they have plenty of guys that can score. They're not needing Solo Hill to score. He's got to D up, rebound, do all the little things that sort of Emeka Okafor is also doing. And I like these glue guys. I have a great appreciation for the role player in basketball. You can't win without guys like that. You have to have those kind of players that do the dirty work, that do all the little things, the subtle things that help you win basketball games. I hear Dan Dakic all the time on ESPN say that's a winning play, and sometimes it doesn't show up in the box score. Solo Hill makes a lot of winning plays. I love watching him play, and he's a key guy for this team going forward.
And tonight's not going to be any cakewalk either. You know, the Pacers are also 41-30. They are currently occupying the fourth spot in the Eastern Conference. They won the last time out, so tonight's going to be much different. And that's one of the things that I think about this stretch that's going to be so interesting for the Pelicans, because you're going to see three different real drastic looks from three different teams. You've got the Mavericks, who are still playing their style regardless of whether or not they have the horses to do it. But you're going to see an Indiana team right now that is very confident, and I think is a team right now that they're only a half game back out of Cleveland in the 3 spot in the East. And
that's hard to believe.
That's hard to believe.
All the things that they've gone through.
Exactly. So they're only a half game back, and then Washington's only a game back of them. So we're talking about how the West and how those 5 through 9 spots are going to be up for grabs. Really, the East is going to be just as interesting outside of Toronto and Boston. And then again, another game that we didn't talk about, but is also a huge help for the Pelicans. The Rockets last night ending the Trailblazers' 13-game winning streak. So it's tough because Portland was playing so well, but they're up against a team that basically last night clinched the Southwest Division in the Houston Rockets. But still, that loss for the Trailblazers means that the Pelicans, if they can pull off another one tonight, they pull off another one on Thursday, they're still clawing at that spot that Portland's in right now.
No doubt about it. We'll talk to Will Guillory, like we said at the top of the hour, get a little more in-depth Pelicans talk. And in a few minutes, we'll take a break here in a couple of minutes, but we're going to hear from Larry Holder. Larry's out. And by the way, what a beautiful day. We've had a couple spectacular days here in New Orleans, weather-wise. And let's hope it continues on, because today is the start of the official services for Tom Benson this morning at the Notre Dame Seminary out at the Catholic Archdiocese out on Carrollton. The visitation begins, and today's visitation is open to the public. So this is a chance for fans, people that really were not part of the Saints organization per se, but just anybody who wants to pay their respects to Tom Benson. They could come out today basically all day. I think it goes all the way till 7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's going to be a massive line at the seminary. And then again tomorrow morning, if you can't get out today, you can go out tomorrow morning from 8 to 1, I think it is, or 8 to noon. It's also open to the public. And then there's going to be kind of a private ceremony for staff, anybody that's involved in the Saints Pelicans organization from about 2 to 7. That's private, so don't go out to the seminary then. And then the actual funeral and the Mass will be at St. Louis Cathedral down in Jackson Square in the French Quarter, of course, the famous, iconic cathedral at the heart of New Orleans, and appropriately will lay Tom Benson to rest, and that is a private ceremony as well. I'm sure a lot of dignitaries will be there. A lot of NFL owners. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, is going to be there. And as I tweeted out this morning, really going to be an incredible scene. Anthony Davis and Drew Brees are going to be pallbearers for Tom Benson, along with Sean Payton, Alvin Gentry, Mickey Loomis, Dell Demps, and a lot of the Saints executives as well. So it should be quite the visual scene. This reminds me a lot, Clyde, of when Muhammad Ali died a few years ago, my hometown, Louisville. It was a civic, occasion when they buried Muhammad Ali, and very much so Tom Benson in New Orleans. All of the local television stations are going to broadcast the Mass on Friday live. I don't know if we've seen anything quite like this for some time.
No, I'm trying to think of the last time I can remember. Basically every television news station in the city and or region basically picking up a funeral live in a midday for at least someone who's local. I can't remember the last time it happened. So if anybody else can either on the YouTube stream or at Twitter at Dunc and Holder tweet us. But I can't remember the last time we had something that's basically going to shut down the city for the next 2 or 3 days. I mean, basically that's what it's going to be, which is it's a surreal feeling because it's going to be really odd to, as we can see on my tweet deck, as we see things streaming in, like Larry's out there right now, Josh is out there, just some reports out there. Josh saying people are singing When the Saints Go Marching In as they approach the chapel. A brief Houdat chant broke out. About a line of 60 people from Larry that are out there right now as the seminary is starting to open its doors. So this is something that's going to be remembered by a lot of us for a long time because, we'll be able to say we remember when these, like the start of the processional and then the day of the actual funeral on Friday. And I read a story last night. So he apparently his tomb is already ready to go, and it's going to be in a pretty prominent spot here that won't be too hard to find if you're driving off the interstate or you're driving along Metairie Road, City Park Road here in the city. Like you'll know where it is and you'll be able to see it very prominently. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, testament to the impact and influence that Tom Benson has had on the city that all the local network affiliates will broadcast his funeral services live. I don't know if we've seen that. Like I said, that's probably unprecedented, at least in our generation. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can call and correct me. But all right, let's take our first break, and then when we come back, we will hear from Larry Holder, our co-host, our cohort in crime. As Clyde said, he's out on assignment tweeting from the Tom Benson visitation. We'll hear from Larry as he checks in with us, and then we will kind of get a lay of the land, and he can set the scene for us, what it's like out there, because I think most people are curious to know, everybody working, going through their day, they can't get out there, what it's like out at the Notre Dame Seminary. And when we come back, we'll hear from Larry. You're listening to Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stick with us.
Until it uptown, pass it till it uptown, pass it, get the gag.
Alvin Gentry went off.
You can't guess on a foul.
But I think he should have went a little bit further than he did.
Call it both ways.
It's been something that I think should have happened a long time ago. It's almost 3 blind mice that are officiating games.
Eric Asher, weekdays, noon to 2.
You get a strong opinion each and every day.
Mike Hudson, area president for iHeartMedia New Orleans. iHeartMedia New Orleans is growing its sales force. If you're an experienced media rep, any media, I want to talk to you. Call me, 504-679-7000, or email me, michaelhudson@iheartmedia.com. iHeartMedia is the largest media company in the world. Grow with us. We're looking for you. We'll pay you what you're worth. 504-679-7300, or email me, michaelhudson@iheartmedia.com. iHeartMedia is an equal opportunity employer.
The New Orleans Pelicans have the perfect way for you to do it big with your buds by scoring the Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18. Packages are available for select Pelicans home games throughout the season and include 2 tickets, 4 beers, and a $20 gift certificate to Loft 18, your ultimate indoor golfing experience, all for as low as $50. Do it big with the next Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18 on Thursday, March 22nd against the Los Angeles Lakers. Visit Pelicans.com to plan your Guys Night Out today.
Ariana Huffington sits down with Emmy Award-winning Bravo host, executive producer, and New York Times best-selling author Andy Cohen for a hilarious and insightful conversation about his career, opening up to love, changing the current culture of outrage, and his secrets to living a productive, successful life. Thanks again to our friends at Sleep Number for sponsoring the Thrive Global podcast. So many couples disagree on mattress firmness. The Sleep Number bed adjusts to your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, so it's just right for both of you. Discover the difference at sleepnumber.com/thrive.
Here's today's tax tip. Owing taxes doesn't have to be a trying and emotionally draining experience. The IRS is there to help.
The three things that the IRS offers to taxpayers that find themselves owing at the time of filing is an offer and compromise to reduce the tax bill that they owe, penalty abatement, and installment agreements where you spread out what you owe over time.
Catherine Verosi, an enrolled agent with Block Advisors in Colorado, says payment plans through the IRS can be fair and equitable and what Verosi calls very merciful. Waiting until a bill comes from the IRS means that the total amount is due immediately. Not paying on time or through an arranged plan can cost you extra money in penalties, paychecks can be garnished, and a lien can be placed on your home. But Verosi clarifies the IRS can't put you in jail. Installment agreements are available for a small fee to taxpayers owing less than $50,000. Verosi warned that all returns must be filed in order to get the IRS to work with you. That's today's tax tip from NBC News Radio. I'm Mark Mayfield.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Jeff Duncan alongside Clyde Verdun here at iHeart Studios in downtown New Orleans on Wednesday, March 21st. Today, the start of the visitation ceremony, I guess, or services for Saints Pelicans owner Tom Benson, as he's being laid to rest this week in New Orleans, and calling in from the actual Notre Dame Seminary, I guess, out on Carrollton Avenue, is our cohort in crime, our co-host Larry Hoder, Sir Lawrence himself, who has been out there this morning, I guess, on the scene. Larry, what's it like out there? Is it starting to get rolling? Are people showing up at the Archdiocese to pay their respects?
Yeah, I got here probably about 9:30, and there's probably about 20 people, and then as we grew closer to about 10, and when they opened the doors, I'd say about 60 people were in line, just basically, fans or people just coming and wanting to pay their respects. And when they got to the front door of Notre Dame Seminary, Who Dat chant started breaking out, and people were kind of dancing right out front to kind of get the thing started. And right now, if you wanted to come pay your respects, and you wanted to avoid any kind of lunch rush or anything going on, I mean, this would be the time. It's open to the public, and come on in. There's no line right now at all. You can walk right in and pay your respects for Saints and Pelicans owner Tom Benson. I can also say that Gail Benson is inside with Mickey Loomis and Dennis Lauscha, Ben Hales, Mike Stanfield, Greg Bensel. They're all inside, so kind of the powers that be from the team are inside to be with Gail for well wishers as well. So it's kind of subdued, but people are coming in little by little. Many people dressed in Drew Brees jerseys, some dressed in suits. You name it, you can come on by and pay your respects to Tom Benson.
And what's the setup like? I mean, do they have, for lack of a better word, like people there parking? I mean, is there a parking situation? I'm just curious because I don't know. I can't imagine they're set up for something of this magnitude.
Yeah, it's kind of park where you can. I know they have ADA parking, which is right around the horseshoe if you're familiar with with Notre Dame Seminary. But yeah, it's basically just kind of a roped off area where there are cameras, and then you just want to go in, you just walk up the stairs and walk right in, and it's, the doors are open. Literally right now, Mickey Loomis is walking out of the stairs right now, and so it's something that it's pretty lax as far as who wants to go in and who wants to go see. So it's not some bustling thing as of right now, which I would assume can change the later on we go. And then when you get to the funeral, I would say that it would certainly be a different story because you figure more dignitaries and more of that such would come by. And so, yeah, but right now it's just kind of calm out here. And like I said, if you want to come by and pay your respects, I would say, guess what? This would be a good time to do it because you wouldn't have to be waiting in line. Because, look, I've come to visitations here in the past for people, and it's lines can get long. Right now, there's really no line. So it's something that if you want to get out here, feel free to come out.
Yeah, Larry, that was kind of going to be my question, too. Obviously, you got the Archbishop there. He's there, along with, obviously, Gail Benson and obviously the top Saints brass and Tom Benson's closest people. But that was going to be my question is, if you have had a chance to talk to anybody, or if you could go into the services before, is this something that's kind of the way that they're set up because of who it is, because of Tom Benson and how many people he touched invariably through the Saints and the Pelicans and then through the city of New Orleans? Was this something that they were prepared for? Was this something that they knew was going to be a little bit bigger of a service and a bigger and kind of spreading it out more than in the past?
Yeah, like this isn't something new. I mean, they have visitations here all the time, and of course the Archbishop Gregory Amon knows Tom Benson. As well as many people in this city. Look, so much so where he was a witness for his will and the alterations of the will. So look, they're fully equipped to do this. So they've had plenty of people of notable people here have visitations and such. So look, they're more than equipped to handle this. But yeah, like I said, right now there's not really that much to handle. I mean, look, right now they're putting flowers out. I could tell you specifically some teams already have flowers sent over here. Most prominently is Brother Martin, which of course Tom Benson went to St. Aloysius and donated millions of dollars to Brother Martin. Also, most displayed is from the Indianapolis Colts. Some other teams that have some flowers out here and bouquets are Philadelphia Eagles, the Timberwolves, the Titans, the Browns, and Mercedes-Benz, among others. So, yeah. But like I said, right now it's really it's just a trickle of people right now. So it's this thing will probably grow larger as, say, the lunch hour comes and maybe the afternoon and people getting off of work. I'm sure that will be a big crush, but right now, you definitely had some people out here who were wanting to get out here. I talked to a couple who were second in line, Owen and Yvette Rie, and they just wanted to come out and pay their respects. And literally, as we're walking, as I'm talking to you right now, Ricky Jackson is literally about to walk past me, so he is going to be here, and he is, but it's something that the couple that I talked to, they just wanted to come out and pay their respects. And what they wanted to do is, even though they know his history is a bit checkered, that they wanted to make sure to come out, pay their respects, because they respect what he did for this city, say, after Katrina and after all the other stuff. They recognize a lot of the good and kind of let some of the negative kind of fade away.
Larry, what kind of, if any, media presence is out there? Are there other media outlets out there?
Oh, yeah, everyone in town, multiple, we've got multiple people out here, so The Advocate, every TV station. I've yet to see, say, NFL Network or ESPN, but I'm sure NFL Network will be here at some point. I know NFL Network would be around on Friday for the funeral, but, yeah, it's something that, everyone's covering this in droves, live trucks, you name it. I mean, every newscast is going to be live at noon, so, yeah, it's the death of one of the most prominent figures in the history of New Orleans, and people are covering it as such.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and I know Joni obviously works at, your wife works at WWL, and we have colleagues at other media outlets in town. I'm trying to think, and I was asking Clyde earlier, has there been anything of this magnitude where all local networks are broadcasting live the funeral service on Friday? Can you think of anything in your lifetime that compares to this?
Boy, I'm trying to think of the death of someone that would be that way. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can remember, say, if you're talking something religious, I remember when Pope John Paul II came, and they did his. Every TV station probably did, but no, I don't think any figure has had that kind of treatment, and that just goes to show you the significance and importance, and just kind of the wonderment of the life of Tom Benson. So it's certainly look. This is this is something that you don't see very often, and so I think that's why it's going to be covered as such.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think as we get closer to the funeral on Friday, this thing's going to gain momentum as far as coverage, not only locally but also nationally. And I think, Larry, the funeral itself, the mass, I know it's a private ceremony, but it is going to be broadcast. I think it's going to be one of those epic New Orleans type of events. You're going to have Anthony Davis and Drew Brees as pallbearers at the funeral. I mean, I'm not sure we've ever seen anything quite like that. The visuals are going to be incredible.
Yeah, and well, unfortunately, the last time I saw that kind of star power around someone at a funeral in town was Will Smith a couple years ago. You had pallbearers like Cam Jordan and Deuce McAllister and such. But guys, let me run because I'm going to try to catch Ricky Jackson. So let me run and see what I can do here.
Sounds like a winner right there, bud.
That's it, Larry Holder. Thanks for checking in, Larry. Have a good time out there if you can. I know you're working, and I know you're trying to pay your respects as well in the right way. But Larry Holder checking in with us from Notre Dame Seminary, again, at the Tom Benson visitation. And sounds like it's a little subdued early on. I wasn't sure exactly how many people were going to show up right off the bat to pay the respects. This, again, today is just fans and the public. So you've got basically a day and a half if you want to get out there and pay your respects. But Friday's ceremony and service is going to be strictly invitation only and a private ceremony for the
in a completely different part of the city. Obviously, if you're not familiar, if you're not well versed in New Orleans geographical layout, really the Carrollton area, which is really kind of the heart of Mid-City, right uptown, not far from St. Charles, as opposed to what's going to happen on Friday. That's going to be in the heart of the French Quarter at St. Louis Cathedral. But, I mean, it's not a surprise, too. I mean, it is 10:30, just started. My question is especially how many people are going to go around lunch? How many people are going to go around mid to early afternoon before it shuts down at 7 tonight? So you're right. It's probably going to get a lot more jam-packed tonight more than anything. So if you want to get out early, can't get out early, do that. But there's going to be more than enough coverage. Obviously, we're going to be covering every angle of this, with the expected dignitaries who we are assuming will be here. So we're going to have a lot of coverage from us in our NOLA.com group for sure.
All right, let's take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about, let's look around the league, the NFL, some of the Saints prospects for free agency. I want to get into that before we hear from Todd Graffanini a little bit later in the hour about LSU Tulane baseball. But there is some news going around in the secondary kind of phase of free agency, and getting a lot of questions from, of course, listeners and, of course, readers at NOLA.com about what the Saints might do from here if they were to strike out on Ndamukong Suh. You're listening to Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Compassion International.
Bright and sunny through the afternoon with highs in the upper 60s. Tonight it's going to get quite chilly. Lows as cold as 38 north of the lake and 48 in the city. And then a warm-up begins on Friday with high temperatures in the mid-70s. Look for plenty of sun over the weekend. Just a few more clouds. It should stay dry, but highs will warm into the lower 80s. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist David Bernard.
For just $5 a day, you can sponsor a child through Compassion International. It's pocket change to you. It's life-changing for a child in need. Be part of the change. Become a sponsor now at compassion.com/radio. That's compassion.com/radio.
Before Boost, our phone bill was obscene. I had to hide it from the kids. So we switched to Boost and got lines for the whole family with unlimited gigs for a much more family-friendly price. It's nice to have a phone bill that doesn't require parental controls.
Your family deserves better than scary phone bills. Get 4 lines for only $25 per line, each with unlimited gigs. Plus, get up to 4 free Samsung J7 perks with 6 months of Hulu, where you can stream all the shows everyone is talking about. All on the super reliable and super fast nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save.
Offer ends 4/16/18. First lines $100 a month. Lines 2 to 4 free. Requires 1 line to port in. Includes unlimited talk, text, and data with video streams at up to 480p. Music at up to 500 kilobits per second. Gaming up to 2 megabits per second. Data deprioritization during congestion. Free phones require port-in, purchase of eligible device, and activation on plans $50 or higher. Includes 6 months of access to 1 Hulu limited commercials plan per eligible line for new Hulu subscribers only. Additional restrictions apply. Terms at www.boostmobile.com/Hulu-terms. Coverage and offers not available everywhere. Restrictions apply.
The New Orleans Pelicans have the perfect way for you to do it big with your buds by scoring the Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18. Packages are available for select Pelicans home games throughout the season and include 2 tickets, 4 beers, and a $20 gift certificate to Loft 18, your ultimate indoor golfing experience, all for as low as $50. Do it big with the next Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18 on Thursday, March 22nd against the Los Angeles Lakers. Visit Pelicans.com to plan your Guys Night Out today.
The 4 for $4 from Wendy's has a lot of fans because it's a deal that gives you a sandwich plus 4 nuggets, a small fry, and drink, all for just $4. But now the 4 for $4 has more variety than ever with 8 sandwich choices.
I'm loyal to the double stack.
I'm Junior Bacon Cheeseburger through and through.
I pledge myself to the crispy chicken sandwich.
I'm loyal to my hunger. Whether you're loyal to one sandwich or all 8, the Wendy's 4 for $4 has a sandwich for you. So try them all and pick your favorite. Now that's deliciously different.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Offer not valid in Alaska and Hawaii.
Real slow, what the fellas be yelling?
Going deep on the teams you care about. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Duncan Holder on Wednesday, March 21st. Jeff Duncan alongside Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier in the booth, and we are kind of going through it was a little somber talking to Larry. I guess it's a somber
I mean, it's a somber
setting.
occasion. I mean, you want to look at these things as as we've termed it now here, I guess, in the new millennia, like a celebration of life. You're going to want to celebrate. I mean, it's a sad occasion because obviously, the passing of anyone is a sad thing. But you get to celebrate life, and it's just one of those things where the reality of it hits you now that literally these are the last few things to happen before eventually being put in the tomb. But again, celebration of life, and as we have seen across Twitter, which I'm hoping to post here to our New Orleans Saints on NOLA.com Facebook page, fans singing when the Saints go marching in. That's beautiful.
No doubt about it. That's how we do it here in New Orleans. We celebrate the life of our loved ones that have passed on, and Tom Benson certainly had an incredible impact on this city, on this community, and we're going to hear a lot about that. We already have heard a lot about it over the last few days. We'll hear a lot more about it in the coming days as a lot of people come to town. I know Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, is expected to be here tomorrow to pay his respects. So is Panthers owner, outgoing Panthers owner, Jerry Richardson. He was very close to Tom Benson, very much a peer of his in ownership circles. Unfortunately, Tom Benson, many of the old guard, as they called it, owners in the NFL have also passed away in the last few years. Dan Rooney of the Steelers, Ralph Wilson of the Bills. A lot of the owners that Tom Benson came into the league at about the same time to become an owner have all passed on. So there's kind of a new group of owners. I would call them younger owners. Steve Bisciotti comes to mind. Mark Davis, of course, with the Raiders. That Shad Khan's a fairly new owner. The Wilfs in Minnesota, fairly new ownership group, but that group is not as close. They're not as collegial as the old guard was. They stuck together. So it's going to be interesting to see how things move forward with Gail Benson now running the team. I'm sure she's going to run it very similarly to the way Tom Benson did. She's got a handful of executives in the Saints offices that have been around the league for a long time, for decades, that can advise her and counsel her. So she's not on her own. She's not making these decisions on her own. It will be collectively as an organization, as it has been for the last few years, frankly. But it will be different, there's no doubt, because Tom Benson's presence out on Airline Drive at the headquarters, at the facility, was large. I mean, he was the man, and he's no longer with us, so it is going to change out there. There's just no other way around it.
And let's not jump the gun to what happens to both organizations and the franchises if Gale passes away. Let's not do that yet. Like, there's no need to do that. There's no need to start going down this rabbit hole of what ifs, what happens. I mean, Tom Benson just passed away. His wife is now the owners of both the New Orleans Saints and New Orleans Pelicans. This is where we are. This is where we need to be. Let's get through this, and let's let her have the chance to run both of these organizations to the best of her ability with the people around that Tom Benson trusts to be able to continue to move both these organizations forward.
Yes, they have a plan. They've been executing or working on this plan for quite some time. It did not just hit them when Tom Benson passed away last week. They've been planning for this along with Tom Benson. They've been planning for the succession for years. So it's something that I'm sure, along with the NFL and the NBA, they're very prepared for. Let's switch gears a little bit. We will talk about Tom Benson over the next few days, certainly in a great detail. But I wanted to talk a little bit during this break about free agency and what's next for the Saints. You know, they've made 7 moves, basically. Drew Brees, of course, the big one, signed him early, right out of the gate, 2 years, $50 million deal, 3 years, 1 year, whoever you want to talk to. Everybody has a different interpretation of it. But basically 2 years, $50 million deal. They brought in Tom Savage to be his backup. I like that move a lot. I'm a big Tom Savage fan as a backup. I don't think he's a guy you want to carry your team through the season, but they had to bring in somebody with some experience. And frankly, I think he's an upgrade over Chase Daniel. Brought back in the bringing back the band phase, putting the band back together. Jermon Bushrod will be that swing, basically Senio Calamente role, backing up guard, tackle. Can't play center, but he can play guard and tackle. I like that move as well, getting an experienced hand in case somebody goes down. Also brought back Patrick Robinson, 4 years, $20 million. He's going to, I think, either start at the other corner spot or be the slot corner, the nickel corner. That's a much-needed signing. And then Demario Davis, linebacker from the Jets, 3 years, $24 million. He upgrades the linebacker core. Going to be interesting to see what that means for Manti Te'o, because as Mike Triplett said yesterday, they've got an overload right now on the depth chart of middle linebackers. We know they like A.J. Klein, Davis. I'm not sure what that means for Te'o.
And Craig Robertson.
Yep, and Craig Robertson as well. And last but not least, Alex Okafor signed 2 years, $10 million. There's an out in there for this team. We don't know what Okafor is going to come back like, but no use. They liked what they was an upgrade over what they had before. But I think they're not going to stop there. They're going to continue to look for ways to bolster the pass rush, and that left defensive end spot, to me, is the biggest need for this team, for this depth chart going forward. You have to be able to generate a pass rush in this league with everything geared around the passing game.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, and Josh, and we wrote about this yesterday at NOLA.com, is clearly the biggest need or the biggest want for the Saints in this offseason was to make this defense stronger and faster. And with the moves that they've made so far, I think you've come about as close to making this defense even stronger and even faster with the group that we saw last year, even with all the injuries. To me, and I guess more or less what I find as interesting about this free agency period as far as acquisitions, the Tom Savage one, or at least offensively, if you don't count Breeze, if you don't count Tom Savage, or if you do count both those are really the only offensively minded moves that the Saints have made so far. And especially with the report that came out today that Willie Snead is going to go on a visit with the Baltimore Ravens, you're looking at another offensive guy. You're looking at an offensive guy possibly getting out of the Saints, even though he is a restricted free agent. So there is that, but still, like, obviously tendering Brandon Coleman, now with Willie Snead, and other guys that are already locked up. Now that is Drew Brees related. How are the Saints going to attack the draft? How do they attack the rest of free agency specifically? Because you want to also bolster that offense as much as you've done for that defense.
No doubt about it. All right, let's take another break, and when we come back, we'll visit with Todd Graffanini, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave, who play LSU in baseball tonight. Should be a great atmosphere for baseball. Those two teams, when they hook up, always a lot on the line. So we'll listen to Graf and what he has to say about the game when we come back right here on Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
The New Orleans Pelicans have the perfect way for you to do it big with your buds by scoring the Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18. Packages are available for select Pelicans home games throughout the season and include 2 tickets, 4 beers, and a $20 gift certificate to Loft 18, your ultimate indoor golfing experience, all for as low as $50. Do it big with the next Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18 on Thursday, March 22nd against the Los Angeles Lakers. Visit Pelicans.com to plan your Guys Night Out today.
This is Smart Hacks for your smart speakers. I'm Stacey Walter. Did you know that Alexa will read bedtime stories to your child? Yeah, just say, Alexa, tell bedtime story to Billy, and you can both sit back until one of you falls asleep. Once upon a time. Alexa also connects you to your favorite live radio stations with iHeartRadio. Tell Alexa to play your favorite iHeartRadio station like this. Alexa, play iHeart 80s. Playing iHeart 80s on iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio has all your favorite music and radio on your smart speaker. This has been Smart Hacks for your smart speakers.
The 4 for $4 from Wendy's has a lot of fans because it's a deal that gives you a sandwich plus 4 nuggets, a small fry, and drink, all for just $4. But now the 4 for $4 has more variety than ever with 8 sandwich choices.
I'm loyal to the double stack.
I'm Junior Bacon Cheeseburger through and through.
I pledge myself to the crispy chicken sandwich. I'm loyal to my hunger.
Whether you're loyal to one sandwich or all 8, the Wendy's 4 for $4 has a sandwich for you. So try them all and pick your favorite. Now that's deliciously different.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Offer not valid in Alaska and Hawaii.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's opponents on Man versus Train. At the crossing, we have Rick, a 175-pound frustrated man who's running late for work. And on the tracks, we have Bull, a million-pound freight train that takes a mile to stop. Let's see who comes out on top.
You can't beat a train, so don't try. Stop. Trains can't. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do, like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
Hi, I'm Nick Jonas, and I'm here to tell you about Think It Up, a new initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join us at thinkitup.org.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Dunc and Holder, Jeff Duncan alongside Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier on Wednesday, March 21st, and we got a big baseball game tonight. It's always big when Tulane and LSU play each other in any sport, but when they face off in baseball, we always see some fireworks, and it's always a lot of intensity. And here to talk to us about it, the voice of the Tulane Green Wave, Todd Graffanini. Graf, what are you anticipating tonight? I mean, I would imagine the atmosphere at Alex Box Stadium is going to be off the hook. We got great weather. When these two teams face off, I don't care if it's midweek. I don't care if it's non-conference. We all know they get after it, don't they?
No question, Jeff. And I guess really, as far as it being amped up a little bit, and it always is amped up, but the fact that Tulane has beaten LSU 4 straight times, I don't think it's sat very well in Baton Rouge, no matter what happens as far as postseason goes. They don't like losing to the guys from uptown. So, and Coach Paul Maneri actually talked about that yesterday when he was talking to the media in Baton Rouge. So, he said he doesn't like losing to Tulane, and like I said, it's been 4 straight times, which last time that happened was in the mid-'70s, so it's been quite a long time. And the thing about it is Tulane needs to find itself, and it needs to find itself in a hurry. And I don't know if this is quite the place to do it, but you gotta have some kind of a starting point. And Tulane is just looking for some consistency on the diamond because it has just been a roller coaster since day one. And conference is starting this weekend, Jeff, and it's got to happen in a hurry.
Well, I know that at one time last week it looked like we were going to get some reserves coming back. Trevor Jensen, the first baseman, came back. What's the status of Ty Johnson? I know he's been the number 3 hitter. He would obviously be a big boost to this team. Is he going to be available or not?
No, he won't. Again, and he was actually getting ready to make the trip to Long Beach, and he just was not able to go due to illness, and I'm going to leave it at that. They have not put anything out, but he's going to be out for a little bit more time. And that was a big guy for Coach Hewitt to bring in the off season. This was a kid again who had not played D1, but had played a major role in his college up in the Northwest, and had come down here, and he's played multiple positions. He's played right, he's played left, he's caught, and he was a 300 hitter, and that guy has not been in the lineup now for a week and a half. Now, Trevor Jensen did come back against Long Beach, had a big day on Saturday as he continues to get back into it, and that's somebody that has always, again, been counted on from day one. So slowly but surely they're getting back. We got Will McCaffer, who is our closer. He came back over the weekend after missing a couple of weeks, but he pitched very well on Sunday in that 1-0 loss to Long Beach. So it's getting there, not fully 100%, but it's getting there.
Well, Graf, talking about specifically going into this game where Tulane has won the last 4 and they look to make it 5 tonight, it ought to be pretty interesting for both sides, seeing as how both teams are starting freshman pitchers. You've got Josh Bates for you guys that's expected to go tonight, while on the other side, LSU is getting Nick Storrs ready, who I know that they've been waiting for a long time to finally see on the mound. So tell us a little bit about what to expect from this matchup tonight from both sides, seeing as how I know you guys love to make that 5 straight wins while they'd love to break the snide, but both guys going with a little bit of untested talent.
Well, obviously I don't know a whole lot about Storrs because he hasn't pitched. I just know what they've talked about him, which he's just a big, stock, big 6'7" righty who throws it downhill and can break it right to left. I mean, that's they truck guys like that out like an assembly line at LSU. So if the key is how amped up is he going to be, which is what I was going to say about our guy Josh Bates, who really has good stuff. Now he's making his 5th start, so he's not a novice. He's been out there every midweek start this year. What has gotten Bates in trouble, Clyde, is that he's just not been able to throw strikes consistently, which is going to get any pitcher in trouble. But if you look at the numbers, his opponent batting average is under 200 to both righties and lefties. Righties are hitting about a 188 clip against him, and lefties are hitting 190. So when he throws it over, he's been really, really good. He's also gotten himself in trouble early in games where his control has not been there bright and early. And if you don't come out early against LSU and they hang a 3-spot on you in the top of the first, or the bottom of the first, I should say, which I've seen many, many times, you're playing catch-up the entire ball game. So for Bates, it's going to be throw the ball over the plate, nothing free, and that is what has really hurt Tulane this year. Up and down, really starters at times, relievers at times. There's just been way too many free passes, and it's come back to bite Tulane many, many times this year, and that's something you have to avoid at all costs, especially in Baton Rouge.
Absolutely, and I mean, honestly, also as what you mentioned, this is the start, or at least this is the week that you guys go into conference play. I mean, obviously there's not a much better way to get ready for conference than to go to Baton Rouge and play LSU. But for you specifically, what do you want to see from the team tonight? What do you want them to get out of this game specifically, outside of a win, to really propel them into this weekend's American opener against Cincinnati at home?
I'm not trying to avoid, but it's just do the basics. Don't be intimidated by your surroundings. Now, the team that really beat LSU 4 straight times, those guys aren't here anymore. Those guys were very experienced, and you had a whole bunch of seniors that left last year. So you've got guys that have been at Alec Box Stadium, but for the most part have not played an entire game at Alec Box Stadium. So this is going to be a different environment for many players in that third base dugout tonight. But Clyde, just really to answer your question, just play solid baseball. Don't be intimidated, like I've talked about. Throw strikes. What wins games like tonight is two-out hitting. With two-out hitting with runners in scoring position. Yeah. If you bring those guys in, you get those clutch hits, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. What hurts in games like this, and I've seen it for many, many, many years, when you have a runner at third, less than two out, when you have bases loaded, two out, you got to get those guys in. If you start leaving runners on base, it's going to come back to bite you in the long run. So you got to get the ball rolling if you're Tulane in the right direction, headed into conference play. Give yourself some confidence going into this weekend, and there's no better confidence builder than to win at Alec Box Stadium. There just really isn't. So we'll see. The opportunity is there. Tulane's got the players to do it. They're just going to have to do it. And I know it's pretty simple, but that's really the way it is right now.
That is Todd Graffanini, the Graf, as we like to call him. Graf, have a great call tonight. Thanks for visiting with us, and we'll talk to you soon down the road, I'm sure, quite soon right here on Dunc and Holder. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
All right, Todd Graffanini, voice of the Tulane Green Wave, setting up tonight's big game down in Baton Rouge.
And you can hear that game on 88.3. Is that one of ours?
Yeah, WBRH.
Yep.
Yes.
So,
but it's big game, always big between those two, Tulane and LSU. And Graf, if Tulane pulls it off, well,
another
no doubt,
signature call.
Yeah, there will not be any doubt about who's winning if Tulane's able to beat LSU. All right, first hour in the books. Second hour coming up, we'll hear from Will Guillory, our very own Will Guillory, Pelicans beat writer at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. He's going to break down the New Orleans Pelicans. Got a big win last night. Got a big game again tonight at the Smoothie King Center. And then we'll go into a little more free agency talk about the New Orleans Saints, because we can never talk too much about the New Orleans Saints. You're listening to Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
You know, before Boost, our phone bill was obscene. I had to hide it from the kids. So we switched to Boost and got lines for the whole family with unlimited gigs for a much more family-friendly price. It's nice to have a phone bill that doesn't require parental controls.
Your family deserves better than scary phone bills. Get 4 lines for only $25 per line, each with unlimited gigs. Plus, get up to 4 free Samsung J7 perks with 6 months of Hulu, where you can stream all the shows everyone is talking about. All on the super reliable and super fast nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save.
Offer ends 4/16/18. First lines $100 a month. Lines 2 to 4 free. Requires 1 line to port in. Includes unlimited talk, text, and data with video streams at up to 480p. Music at up to 500 kilobits per second. Gaming up to 2 megabits per second. Data deprioritization during congestion. Brief runs require port in. Purchase of eligible device and activation on plans $50 or higher. Includes 6 months of access to 1 Hulu limited commercial plan per eligible line for new Hulu subscribers only. Additional restrictions apply. Terms at www.boostmobile.com/Hulu-terms. Coverage and offers not available everywhere. Restrictions apply.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Fox Sports trending now.
As NFL free agency continues, the biggest name still without a team, defensive lineman Ndamukong Suh, and his tour continues. He'll visit with the Oakland Raiders later today. The agent for Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski says his client's still considering a possible retirement. Meanwhile, the Bears officially announced the signing of cornerback Kyle Fuller after matching the offer sheet he signed with the Packers. Steelers have signed free agent safety Morgan Burnett to a 3-year contract. College news: on the first day of spring practice, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered a thumb injury on his throwing hand. But he is expected to be just fine. He'll take a few days off of practice. College hoops: Texas freshman Mo Bamba leaving school early to enter the NBA draft. University of Buffalo has hired Mark Allnut to take over as AD. He was previously at Memphis. He replaces Alan Green, now the AD at Auburn.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword money to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's money to 200-200.
At CVS Pharmacy at Target, we put a little extra heart into everything we do, like actively looking to save you money. Generics, 90-day refills, even rewards. Get a $5 Target coupon for every 10 prescriptions. On your next Target run, stop by CVS Pharmacy. We're the place with the big heart. Not valid on all prescriptions, including those purchased in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Other restrictions apply. See cvs.com/extracare-target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
There's no wrong way to eat an Oreo cookie. But just in case you need a refresher, here's a tried and true method. Step 1, twist. Step 2, lick. Step 3, dunk. Step 4, repeat. Preferably with family, friends, and anyone else who wants a taste. See, you can't go wrong by twisting, licking, and dunking Oreo cookies. Just grab a cold glass of milk and practice these easy steps. Soon enough, you'll understand why Oreo is milk's favorite cookie. Try it today with Oreo.
Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House, 3117 21st Street, open Monday through Thursday from 11 to 9, Friday and Saturday till 10. Serving the freshest Louisiana seafood. Come get oysters raw on the half shell, charbroiled, and more. Try our colder hot appetizers. The catch of the day are our barbecue shrimp po' boy. Enjoy a great pasta dish, crawfish etouffee, or shrimp and grits. But save room for dessert. Dine in our beautifully renovated dining rooms, on the patio, or belly up to the bar to watch the home teams play. Mr. Ed's Oyster Bar and Fish House, now open in the French Quarter 7 days a week at 512 Bienville.
The European Union wants to be exempted from the Trump administration's proposed tariffs. EU Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmström told the European Parliament last week that she hopes to clear up what she calls a mess and convince the administration this week that the U.S. already has a good deal on trade with Europe. Each is the other's top trade partner, and European trade officials say the two should team up to fight Chinese trade policies. But President Trump has said Europe needs to drop what he calls its horrific barriers and tariffs on U.S. products, or he threatens to tax European auto imports. A major African trade deal is about to be finalized. It'll make NAFTA and the TPP look minuscule. Here's correspondent Bill Zimfer.
The agreement to be signed this week would launch the African Continental Free Trade Area, involving all 55 member states of the African Union. The trade deal, which would remove tariffs on 90% of goods, is expected to increase intra-Africa trade by more than 50% over the next 4 years. It would be the biggest trade agreement since the World Trade Organization was established in 1995. Bill Zimfer, NBC News Radio.
Here's some good news for older workers. More companies are hiring you and creating programs to help. USA Today cites several examples of companies hiring more seniors, including Goldman Sachs, through its returnship program that trains and mentors those who haven't worked for a couple of years. And Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston recruits older workers through a local organization called Operation Able. But the AARP's foundation litigation says while there are some enlightened companies, age discrimination is still rampant. With March Madness underway, consumers need to be on the lookout for internet scams. Consumer Reports is warning that a surge in phishing emails and internet scams might be on the rise as the basketball tournament continues this month. Specifically, watch for ticket scams, offers of free live streams from unfamiliar sites, and never shop on any site that doesn't start with HTTPS. Consumer and Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text RULE to 321321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text RULE to 321321. That's RULE to 321321.
What's up, Will?
Duncan Holder, Hour 2, Wednesday, March 21st. Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier here in the iHeart Studios in downtown New Orleans. We're missing Sir Lawrence Holder, my co-host. He's out on assignment today at the Tom Benson visitation at the Notre Dame Seminary, which began this morning and will continue on throughout the day as people pay their respects to the late Saints Pelicans owner. And Clyde, we get into this second hour. We're going to talk Pelicans, but real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts as we go into this segment with Will Guillory, who we have on the line on Wobble Wobble Wednesday, I might add. Do you think Will is up for the task of doing a live Wobble Wobble dance for us for the YouTube page?
Will, who has done a fantastic job for us covering the Pelicans this year. He's done a wonderful job being thrust in that role. I, however, unfortunately I don't know if he's willing to go that far for the page just yet. However, if we were able to get some folks that we had in here on Monday and did a video like that.
Black, and you tuning in Sports 1280 with Duncan Holder, you hear me? This your girl Cheeky. You better twerk something. Let me get that out you. Wobble, 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 wobble. Hammer that. Get it back.
I'd do it for that. And I think if we got Cheeky here to do it, oh yeah, I'd do it too.
If we can't get Will to do it after that, if we can't get him to partake, then we are losing it. Will, what do you say? You up for the task?
I mean, I don't know if I can even live up to that standard. Well, that's like following up the guy that has to start after, John Elway in Denver, or like the guy that had to take over after Babe Ruth in the Yankees. I mean, that's a tough one to follow up right there. You think I'm up to it?
We can make it happen. I got Cheeky's phone number in my cell.
Of course you do.
I love it. Well, Will, last night, Pels, I watched a lot of that game, and it looked to me like they just grinded it out. I mean, they were missing Drew Holiday. But, again, this team, every challenge lately that's been put in front of them, no matter who they lose, if they lose AD for a quarter or so, it seems like they respond. I think it's a testament to the resiliency not only of the players but also Alvin Gentry and his staff, who have had to really mix and match a lot of different lineups here the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think that's something they've talked about pretty much at the beginning of the year, even when DeMarcus was healthy, was that they always felt like they fought adversity really well. They're a tight-knit group in that locker room. Pretty much everyone in that locker room likes each other. They all cheer for each other. They're happy for each other. Like the other night when Chet had his big night, everybody was kind of cheering him on and happy for him. Last night, Ian Clark had a big night. Everybody was happy for him. So I think that's a big part of this team's success, is the fact that they're all together. They all root for each other. And once stuff like last night happens with Drew Holiday, out of nowhere gets knocked out before the game, they have other guys step up. They have other guys that are willing to kind of take on whatever they need to do, because they all are in this. They want to make the playoffs, and they want to show that they're capable of competing with anybody else in the West. And when you have a guy like Anthony Davis doing what he's doing, I mean, they have a good reason to think that.
Will, has there been any update on Giroux for possibly tonight and the rest of this 3 games and 3 day stretch going into the weekend? On any update on his status?
Yeah, he's listed as questionable going into tonight. Talking to Alvin Gentry last night, the team's hoping that he can be back for tonight. He talked about how Drew's wife, actually, Lauren, came down with a flu in it right before Drew came down with it, and she got over it pretty quickly. So they're hoping that Drew can do the same thing. And also, Solomon Hill is going to be out tonight for rest. Obviously, he's coming back from that torn hamstring. They don't want him playing back-to-backs just as of yet. So he's going to be out, and they're hoping Drew can go tonight, but he's going to be questionable.
Speaking of Solo Hill, we know he's worked his way back into the lineup after that long absence from the torn hamstring. Are you surprised that Alvin Gentry has just thrust him back into the starting lineup? I thought he might bring him along and work him into the lineup. Has he talked about that?
I think part of it is that they want to keep him right around that 8 to 10 minute mark. So obviously, when you're playing that few minutes, they're going to probably play him all in the first half. So I think that's an easy way to just kind of get him his minutes, is just playing with the starting lineup, get him 5 minutes or whatever, and bring him right back out, and then do the same thing in the second quarter. So I think that's part of the reason behind that. And I think also they wanted to see what he looks like with that starting group, just because, at some point they would like to get him back in that starting 3 spot, just because what he brings as a defender, a guy that's capable of defending multiple positions. So I think ultimately that's where they want to get, and that was a good opportunity just to kind of see what it looks like with Drew Holiday out. But I think going forward, I would doubt that he's going to be in the start lineup just because he's going to be playing so few minutes. But just seeing him last night, I think it's promising to see how far he's come already. He was making some really good plays on defense. He was moving his feet really well, dove on the floor at one point to get a loose ball. So they're happy with his progress so far, but they want to bring him along slowly just because he's been out for so long. They don't want to throw him out there and have him playing 20, 25 minutes in games that, pretty much every game the Pelicans are playing from here on out is going to have a playoff vibe. So he's going to be, using a lot of energy, and they don't want to ask too much of him before he's completely all the way back.
And, last night I think you tweeted out that while you all were in the locker room waiting to talk to some of the Pelicans players, there was a loud cheer erupted from some of the players in the other room as they were watching, obviously, the final seconds of the Thunder-Celtics game, which was a big win for the Celtics, kind of an improbable win there as they rallied in the last minute to win that game. So this thing's starting to have a feel of like a Major League Baseball pennant chase right now, right? I mean, people are scoreboard watching, trying to jockey in the standings on the Western Conference race. It must have been a cool scene there last night as they celebrated that win.
Yeah, definitely. We were all kind of standing around in the locker room where we were looking around at all the lockers, and they were all empty, and we were just looking around like, what's going on? Where's everybody at? And then Anthony Davis walks back to his locker, and he usually likes to, take a shower and get dressed before he talks to the media, and then we just hear this loud cheer from the back, and Anthony's like, oh, I got to go. And then he runs to the back, and all of those guys are cheering on the big shot Marcus Morris hit for the Boston Celtics last night to beat OKC. And it was a really good night for the Pelicans because not only did the OKC lose, but Utah lost to Atlanta as well. And, that allowed the Pelicans to jump up to number 5 in the West for right now. So just like you said, I mean, they're watching pretty much all of these games. They're paying attention to where they're at, their ups and downs with the standings right now. And I think that kind of adds even more excitement to this run for this team. That at any given night, they can go up, they can go down, and they know that they need every win they can get just to survive this run. And it's an exciting moment for all of those guys just because, this franchise hasn't been in the playoffs for a few years now. Anthony Davis has been dying to get back into these moments, and I think it's just, again, that's another reason all of these guys can really come together. They've united just because they want this moment for this franchise and for everybody on this team just to get into the playoffs and show what they can do.
Do you think that is something the Pelicans are using to their advantage and maybe leaning on guys like Rajon Rondo, Anthony Davis, who has only been once, but obviously a guy like Rajon Rondo has had that experience in the playoffs, going deep in the playoffs. Ian Clark knows what it's like to at least be a part of a championship-winning team. When you have a guy like Rondo playing 30 minutes last night, scoring 19 points, and really coming on when the team needs it with so few games left in this regular season, are they going to lean on a guy like Rajon Rondo and maybe Ian Clark a little bit more than most, even though Anthony Davis is clearly the sole leader? But when it comes to knowing the grind of what it takes to be in the playoffs and being a playoff team, relying on those guys who have that experience.
Oh, yeah, I think there's no question about that, especially when you talk about Rondo, just because I think even before this playoff race, from the beginning of the season, he's basically been like a player/coach/mentor for these guys just because he's not only a very experienced player, but his basketball IQ is so high, and all of the coaches talk about how he has a future in coaching if he wants to, just because he knows so much about the game. He's able to see 2, 3, 10 steps down the line where so many guys can only see what's kind of in front of them during the course of the game. And I think he's been such an important piece for the team, even though his play has kind of been up and down at certain points. Just his presence in the locker room, just the words he gives to the guy. Drew Holiday jokes all the time after games about how if he doesn't see anything, he knows a few hours after the game he's probably going to get a text from Rondo with a video clip like, hey, you should have saw this, or hey, I want you to do this next time around. And he has all these guys invested. He's telling them what they need to hear as far as what it takes to win these games, what it takes to get through the grind. And it's funny you brought up Ian Clark because that's kind of the relationship they've developed through the year. They've become really close because they compete, and he makes it a point of getting a relationship with those guys on the bench, and he keeping those guys invested with the guy like Ian Clark. There was times this year he was getting DMPs. There was times when he was a big part of the rotation, and when you're up and down like that, it's hard to really stay focused and realize what you need to do to remain successful. And having a guy like Rondo saying, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what I want you to do, and you finally see success from that, I think it breeds confidence in everybody in that locker room, and his effect, I don't think it can be understated just how much he's helped his team this year.
Yeah, this should be an interesting game tonight. We know it's the makeup game. The good news is we got great weather. We don't have to worry about a sequel of the catch basin disaster that we had last time. But
let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, we don't have to go through that. I really felt for everybody there that was going through that ordeal. But looking at the Pacers, first of all, they have the exact same record as the Pelicans at 41-30. They're right on the heels of the Cleveland Cavaliers. But what stood out to me is they played well on the road. They dropped their last road game against the Wizards, but before that they went to Philadelphia, beat the Sixers, and then went to Boston and beat Boston on the road. So this is a team, I think, that's going to come in here with a lot of confidence. They just had a win against the Lakers themselves. This is kind of one of those games I think that the Pels have to be leery of, a sandwich game in a 3-game set where you got the Lakers, who I think you match up very well with tomorrow night, but this Pacers game should be intriguing matchup-wise for the Pelicans.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Pacers are one of those unique teams. They have a bunch of different big guys that they can throw at Anthony Davis. Guys, they have different styles. You got Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, some of those guys can challenge AD in different ways. And I think Victor Oladipo, he's playing at an extremely high level this year on both ends of the floor. I think him and Drew Holiday are up there, two of the best two-way players in the league. Just what they're able to do with scoring and defending on the perimeter on a night-to-night basis. And so much of what Indiana does starts with Victor Oladipo and the way he plays with max effort every single night. He's unselfish. He doesn't mind taking the big shots at the end of games. And I think the way he's developed this year kind of helped everybody else on that team kind of fit into the role that they need to play on a winning team. And obviously Nate McMillan has done a great job as the coach there. So I think it's going to be a real tough challenge tonight just because Indiana's a really good team. They're playing at a high level. They're fighting for one of those top seeds in the Eastern Conference. So both of these teams are in a battle in the playoff race right now. So I think it's going to be I think last night you saw in the first half, there was already maybe a little bit of tire legs going on with the Pelicans during this stretch, and it's still just getting started. So I think they're going to have to fight that tonight, especially if Drew Holiday can't play. It's going to be a challenge just to get everybody running up and down the court. But again, I think it starts with Rondo, just like Clyde said. I think Rondo's energy last night kind of lifted everybody, and also when those bench guys came in, and having him as the leader of the offense, the guy that's pushing the pace on every possession is going to be huge, just because I don't think that necessarily fits into what Indiana wants to do. I think they have a bunch of good scorers on that team, but I don't think they want to get into that 110, 115 type of game that the Pelicans love to play. And if they can get the game moving at that type of pace, I think it'll play into New Orleans' advantage. And also, when they play at that pace, it prevents teams from sending those double, triple teams at Anthony Davis. So you can see, just like he had last night, where he's scoring 37 points, but it's coming on 21 shots. Because he's getting efficient looks, he's not forcing attempts, he's not going against double teams, and when they're moving the ball, when they're getting everybody involved, it's extremely tough to stop him from getting exactly what he wants to do.
It wouldn't be a Wednesday without Will Guillory visiting Duncan Holder. Will, thanks for joining us. Have a great game tonight, and we'll see you out at the arena very soon. Appreciate it, buddy.
I appreciate you guys, and it's always a good show when we get a Sir Lawrence and a Cheeky Black all in one. So, I mean, that's what Wobble Wobble Wednesday is all about.
No doubt.
It is a good day.
No doubt. Always good when Cheeky Black gives an endorsement. Thanks, Will. And we will take a break, come back here on Duncan Holder, and we'll talk a little Saints free agency, a little bit of news trickling in around the NFL. You're listening to Duncan Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
With the platinum grill, with the platinum pieces, and the platinum chain, the platinum watches, and the platinum ring.
Boy, X's never change.
Still doing my...
A 4-foot by 6-foot box of dirt lies in wait, lined with chalk, undisturbed. For now, the cakes are ready to dig back in for another summer on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
O'Reilly.
Restore your vehicle's lost power by cleaning your entire fuel system with Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner. Right now, buy one bottle and get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts, plus get double O Rewards points on your purchase. Keep your engine clean with Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supplies. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Did you know with the free iHeartRadio app, you can type in the name of your favorite artist and get a station full of their biggest hits, including similar artists picked just for you, songs handpicked by real people, fellow music fanatics. And as you thumb songs up or down, we personalize the station to fit you even better. It is that easy. Just type in the name of your favorite artist and let us get to work. It's the easy-to-use app for music and radio, and it couldn't be simpler. Download our free iHeartRadio app today.
The Houston Rockets get a 115-111 road win over the Trailblazers, ending Portland's 13-game winning streak behind 42 points from James Harden. Rockets head coach Mike D'Antoni on having front-row seats for the Beard.
He's unique. I mean, yeah, it's the best offensive player I've ever seen.
Houston extends its own winning streak to 6 games, sitting 4 games ahead of the Warriors for the best record in the NBA at 57-14, 11 games to go. Meanwhile, in Boston, rookie Jason Tatum dropped 23 and 11 for the first time in his career. Marcus Morris drained a three-pointer with 1.2 left on the clock to lift the injury-plagued Celtics to a dramatic 199 win over the Thunder. And with the Sweet 16 set to tip tomorrow at 4 sites around the country, some big college hoops news off the court. Trae Young is headed to the NBA. The sensational 19-year-old freshman announcing he's leaving Oklahoma after just 1 season. No surprise, he'll be a lottery pick. He led Division I in scoring and assists, north of 27 points and 8 dimes a game. That's sports. Jake Orwin, NBC News Radio.
My name is Jacob Sanchez.
And I'm Carmen Sanchez. People with autism need to know that they're loved and that they're accepted. We felt like we were alone, and now we feel like part of some big, amazing community. Fundraising is important because it funds vital programs, research. The hope is that this can be turned into resources for people in our community. Register for an Autism Speaks walk.
No sleep till! This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun, Dave DeCorbier here in iHeart Studios on Wednesday, March 21st. The start of the Tom Benson visitation services this morning, and Larry Holder was out at the actual service, and he's been reporting on Twitter along with our very own Josh Katzenstein, posting updates. It looks like a few more people are starting to arrive. We saw where Gail Benson, the widow of Tom Benson, along with a lot of the Saints executives now have come outside the seminary and are actually greeting fans as they work their way into the Notre Dame Seminary to pay their respects to Tom Benson. I'm sure quite a scene there as people line up. And Larry Holder's on the scene. He checked in with us earlier. If you get a chance to hear Larry's report, we'll have it back as always on our podcast here at sports1280, NOLA.com, or you can check it out on the iHeartRadio app. But Larry checking in, kind of laying the visual out for us of what it's like out there. And it's going to be like that again tomorrow. They'll have another round of visitation tomorrow, and then the funeral will be at St. Louis Cathedral on Friday. But while Larry was out there this morning, he had a chance to catch up with former New Orleans Saints standout linebacker Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson, of course, one of, I think, 4 Saints Hall of Famers. And Ricky Jackson commented, I guess, about his relationship with Tom Benson, what Tom Benson meant to him, and why he was there this morning to pay his respects to Tom Benson. Let's hear what Ricky Jackson had to say.
I know how much Tom Benson's meant to you and your career, and you presented you at the Hall of Fame. Just your thoughts on being here and just honoring Mr. Benson.
Well, he did a lot for me. Mm-hmm. I think he probably did more for me than he did for any player. So he was always all right with me.
Mm-hmm. And as far as just his life, I mean, he lived a long life and done a lot for you and his community.
For the city. I mean, he kept the Saints here. They might have left like some of the other teams did. So.
And what did Mr. Benson mean to you and to the city?
Well, I mean, he meant a whole lot to me, and I played him with him, and he took care of me, and I never, anything I asked him for, he gave to me, so, and to keep the team here, the team might have left like the Colts and some of those teams did, a lot of teams were leaving, and he came in and saved the team, kept them in the city, so it meant a lot to me.
Yeah. How about your thoughts on how he impacted the city and impacted the region?
Well, I mean, It did. I think he's number one, you know what I mean? Because if you look at the Saints, they number one, so you got to put him as the number one savior for the city. And probably, you know, you got the Pelicans, you know, so he did a whole lot. That's why, you know, you see he got the beer, the Cadillac company, the Mercedes company, so, you know, he about number one in the city, you know, and in the state really for, you know, being, keeping Louisiana going.
And I tell you, Ricky Jackson, I don't know if people know this or not, but speaking of Tom Benson, some of the things he does behind the scenes, because we all know the big generous donations he's made to charities around the city, Ochsner, Brother Martin, Tulane, Loyola universities, and we all know those. We read those make the headlines. But Tom Benson does a lot of things behind the scenes, or did a lot of things behind the scenes for people, and one of those was Ricky Jackson. When Ricky Jackson was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Tom Benson basically paid for his entire expenses to go up to Canton, Ohio, not only for Ricky, but all of his family and friends, his entourage. He paid for the party, which is usually about a six-figure check that you sign to have a party to celebrate Ricky Jackson's Hall of Fame career and his Hall of Fame induction. And Tom Benson does a lot of things like that for a lot of people. He did something similar for Morton Anderson at his induction this past summer up in Canton, Ohio. So Ricky Jackson, as much as anybody, knows the generosity of Tom Benson and some of the things he does for people personally, not just for the headlines, because none of that stuff ever got out and never really was meant to get out. But Ricky Jackson certainly knows.
Yeah, and I mean, Ricky celebrated his birthday yesterday. It was his birthday yesterday. I know a lot of Saints fans were, you know, obviously thinking of him and thinking of all the Saints that Tom Benson clearly has had a hand in, but none more so than probably Ricky in his career and what he was able to do as a Saint and what he was able to do and make a life for himself in the NFL. It's one of those things where, you know, it's like Larry and I talked about when you weren't here after it happened. You know, a lot of people, and we did get 2 callers in on the Friday, at the day after he passed last week, and it was the dichotomous nature of the Tale of Two Cities almost, with it being people rightly so revering Tom Benson for what he did, and also at the same time realizing that, like we've said many times, it's a complicated situation. The story is not one that is strictly related to just being inspirational, uplifting. There are trials and tribulations there that we all deal with in our lives, and it's not as simple as saying we can just, you know, glance or, you know, gloss over those and get to the sugary saccharine parts. But it is true. It is not the time for it. It's not the way to do it, and especially now, because this is, like we talked about, this is pretty much it. This is the last processional, leading to, you know, where you're going to be laid to rest. And there will be time going forward that we'll be able to really, really talk about and dive deep into the entire history of Tom Benson's ownership of the Saints. And right now it isn't one of them, but it's really nice to hear. And he will not be the only one. Ricky Jackson will not be the only one. There will be many, many more public remembrances of Tom Benson by the people who knew him more closely than the rest of us did. But at the same time, though, seeing the amount of fans that are showing just an outpouring of support for Gail Benson and for the rest of the Saints organization, who are no doubt hurting the most, his immediate family, it's got to be a comforting time, because all these strangers, you don't know any of these people, you don't know them from Adam, it doesn't matter, but they're literally coming for you to help console you and your family. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, and I tell you, one of the favorite things Tom Benson enjoyed, one of the things he enjoyed the most as owner, was the times like at training camp when the Saints would have public practices, and he and Gail would ride around in a golf cart and get a chance to greet the fans, to thank the fans for coming out and supporting the team. He loved that, and he was a pretty private man by nature, but he really enjoyed interacting with the fans. He is a New Orleanian. He certainly understands the connection between the team and the fan base and the population of New Orleans, and the deep southern Louisiana in general. So that always struck me is he did that every day out there at practice, would come by and make a note of or make a point of saying hi to the fans and spending some time with them. And certainly I'm sure it connected with the fans as well, and that's why a lot of them are going out to pay their respects to him and to Gail Benson and the rest of the Saints front office. Should be an interesting time. I'm eager to read our coverage of it in NOLA.com and at the Times-Picayune in the coming days, because a lot of people, I think, have been influenced and impacted by Tom Benson over the years, and I'm sure they're all going to be coming in from throughout the Gulf South to pay their respects to him. And look, if you want to join the program, participate in the program today, you want to give us a call, give us your thoughts, 504-260-1280 is the number to call. Love to hear what you have to say about Tom Benson or anything else for that matter. Pelicans, Saints, free agencies kind of heating up. One thing I think that's interesting, one of the subplots to this offseason, Clyde, is the return of John Gruden to the sidelines.
Yeah.
He is now back in Oakland, as we all know, and he's already a factor. He's won a battle with Sean Payton for Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson, of course, the recent release of the Green Bay Packers, and a veteran wide receiver that a lot of people valued, and a guy that obviously fits that Payton, Mike McCarthy, John Gruden, West Coast style offense. He was highly valued. Sean Payton wanted him here. John Gruden, Sean Payton's former mentor. I mean, Sean Payton got his start in the NFL on the Philadelphia Eagles staff working under John Gruden. They go way back, and now they're butting heads. Not only do they butt heads in a battle in free agency to try and get Jordy Nelson, but they now are going to battle over Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh today visiting the Oakland Raiders, I guess soon to be Las Vegas Raiders. And looks like Chucky, John Gruden's going to get the last visit on this free agency tour. I don't know, there may be some down the road because it seems like there's a new one every day. But so far, Ndamukong Suh has visited the New Orleans Saints, the Tennessee Titans. He was just in Los Angeles to visit the Rams. Now he's in Oakland with the Raiders and John Gruden. And I think if you're a Saints fan, you should be worried a little bit about John Gruden getting the last word with Ndamukong Suh, because we've all known, as we've seen John Gruden on Monday Night Football broadcasts, can be very persuasive and can really kind of fix you with his ability to talk and his ability to sell his mission out in Oakland.
Yeah, he can do that. However, I'm completely wholly concerned that people are going to somehow forget how John Gruden's tenure in the NFL ended, and then the first thing he says upon returning to the NFL is, I want to bring it back old school. That's totally fine. You can bring it back old school too, and the Raiders will still continue to be terrible. I think...
Wow, why did you say that?
Taking
the playoffs 2 years ago.
I know, and that's the thing. He's walking into a situation. He's walking into a team that is built for playoff contention. You have a franchise quarterback in Derek Carr. You have a solid offense. You're trying to upgrade the defense, although you've already cut Michael Crabtree. Now you tried to cut some of these other. You tried to cut this fat out of the team. But to say that you're going to try to bring it back to when you coached, as opposed to all of the differences in the NFL that have changed, that you've watched change since you've done Monday Night Football, is a little naive to me. And I think that it speaks to the nature of wanting to harken back to a time where the NFL, you didn't worry about what the catch rule was, catch rule, tuck rule, whatever you want to call it, and saying that that's going to automatically get you wins in the NFL. That's not how this game today is played. It's not how this game works. He's already stepping into a conference in the AFC West where he's really going to pretty much have an easier time, I would think, with Kansas City, with Kansas City dumping theirs. Their only really contender outside of that would maybe be Denver. But every team in the AFC West has had some kind of upheaval. So whoever wins that division next year, it's going to be a toss-up. So pick one team, ride with it, see where you go. But I'm not completely sold that maybe if John Gruden has a successful first year, how long that could be sustained.
Well, we all know the hazards of trying to predict who's going to be a contender and who's not going to be a contender in the NFL offseason. I mean, a year ago, no one would have thought the Los Angeles Rams would be a playoff team. So you never know. But speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, who look like they are going through a bit of a transition, you're right, but they are apparently working on a deal with former Saints tight end Ben Watson, former Ravens tight end. Ben Watson looks like he's going to be signing with the Chiefs, which would make him obviously the backup. They have Travis Kelce out there as the main guy, but Ben Watson looks like he's going to be a Kansas City Chief here late in his career. All right, let's take another break. Come back. I want to talk a little bit about the Willie Snead situation and see what we are going to do with this Saints wide receiver depth chart, because if Willie Snead leaves, there's not a whole lot left. But we'll discuss that when we come back right here on Dunc and Holder. You're listening to Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
The boogie to the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie, let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock.
You're invited to the Walton Johnson Crawfish Boil. March 31st. Starts about 2 in the afternoon at Southport Hall. Crawfish from NOLA boils and music from Dr. Rock. More info at WRNO.com or Facebook.com/995 WRNO.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by SOS Children's Villages.
Bright and sunny through the afternoon with highs in the upper 60s. Tonight it's going to get quite chilly. Lows as cold as 38 north of the lake and 48 in the city. And then a warm-up begins on Friday with high temperatures in the mid-70s. Look for plenty of sun over the weekend. Just a few more clouds. It should stay dry, but highs will warm into the lower 80s. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist David Bernard.
War, poverty, and disaster have left millions of children around the world orphaned, abandoned, alone. When their parents can't be there, SOS Children's Villages is there in 134 countries, including the U.S. To make a difference in a child's life, go to sosusa.org.
You know, before Boost, our phone bill was obscene. I had to hide it from the kids. So, we switched to Boost and got lines for the whole family with unlimited gigs for a much more family-friendly price. It's nice to have a phone bill that doesn't require parental controls.
Your family deserves better than scary phone bills. Get 4 lines for only $25 per line, each with unlimited gigs. Plus, get up to 4 free Samsung J7 perks with 6 months of Hulu, where you can stream all the shows everyone is talking about. All on the super reliable and super fast nationwide network. Boost makes it easy to switch. Switching makes it easy to save.
Offer ends 4/16/18. First lines $100 a month. Lines 2 to 4 free. Requires 1 line to port in. Includes unlimited talk, text, and data with video streams at up to 480p. Music at up to 500 kilobits per second. Gaming up to 2 megabits per second. Data deprioritization during congestion. Brief runs require port-in, purchase of eligible device, and activation on plans $50 or higher. Includes 6 months of access to 1 Hulu limited commercial plan per eligible line for new Hulu subscribers only. Additional restrictions apply. Terms at www.boostmobile.com/Hulu-terms. Coverage and offers not available everywhere. Restrictions apply.
This week on Big Easy Deals, get a family 4-pack to the Audubon Butterfly Garden and Insectarium for just $34. Watch as the beautiful butterflies swoop and soar all around you. Go to foxsportsam1280.com. Keyword deals for your half-off certificate today.
When they say you'll never make it on your own, that's the time to really shine.
Like Camila Cabello, everyone loves a comeback. Now dry hair can have one too, with new Elvive Extraordinary Oil Hair Treatment from L'Oreal Paris. In just one use, Elvive revives dry hair, leaving it healthier, shinier, and 10 times more nourished. Revive dry hair with Elvive Extraordinary Oil Hair Treatment. Discover the complete line of Elvive hair care from L'Oreal Paris at your local retailer today.
Because you're worth it.
We bleed purple, green, blue, black, and gold. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back. Jeff Duncan, Clabber Dan here on Duncan Holder. We're missing Larry Holder, who's out on assignment at the Tom Benson Visitation Services in New Orleans. And we were talking Saints free agency now. We just mentioned that former Saints tight end Ben Watson looks like he's going to land in Kansas City. Another report today from Adam Schefter of ESPN that Saints restricted free agent wide receiver Willie Snead is going to visit the Baltimore Ravens today. The Ravens are really in need of wide receiver help. They signed, as you mentioned earlier, Michael Crabtree, former Raiders receiver, who I like a lot. I think he's an underrated player. He's kind of crazy, but he is a good player. And they tried to land former Tulane standout Ryan Grant, who ended up signing with the Indianapolis Colts. But the Ravens need help on the perimeter. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes down because the Saints have tendered Willie Snead, which means the Ravens, the Saints have the right of first refusal. What that means is whatever deal the Ravens offer Willie Snead, assuming they are going to offer him a deal, the Saints have the right to come back and match it and retain his services. But the Ravens, there's a lot of strategy that falls into play when restricted free agents are in the mix. And the Ravens can put in like a poison pill. There's all kinds of ways that they can set up deals to prevent the Saints from matching it. So it'll be interesting to see if they really go hard for Willie Snead. And if Willie Snead were to sign with the Ravens, and I think there's a possibility of that, what is going to happen with the Saints receiver core, Clyde? I mean, when you go down the list here, the depth chart, they haven't offered a tender at all to Brandon Coleman. We all know Mike Thomas is the number one guy, Ted Ginn Jr., the clear number two. But once you get past those two, I mean, you got Tommy Lee Lewis, who really is more of a return specialist, very rarely used in the receiving game. You have Austin Carr, who was an undrafted free agent that the Saints signed last year off. Once the Patriots kind of cut him, they brought him onto the active roster. He didn't really play much at all last year. Just saw a few cameo appearances late in the season. They have Trayvon Doral, former LSU standout, who basically missed the whole last year trying to recover from an injury. Paul Turner, actually a West Monroe native, former Louisiana Tech standout who was signed to the roster in the offseason. He's just another guy in the mix. And then Josh Huff, who's getting ready to serve the first 2 games of the season for a suspension, 2-game suspension for violating the league's drug policy. There's not a lot there. There's not a lot of proven ability once you get past the top 2, assuming that Willie Snead signs elsewhere or Brandon Coleman is not brought back.
Right, and I think what's confusing about this situation more than maybe other positions is that all the talk this season was about Willie Snead not being able to catch on, Snead not being involved in the offense, suspension, injury, finally getting some play, finally getting some snaps, but not really having a role in the offense. That's really going to Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram in spots, tight end, whoever, and then, kind of Brandon Coleman in there. And then you get to the offseason and you tender Willie Snead, but then you don't do anything with Brandon Coleman. And now Snead is the one on the visit because you want to see what he can get on the market, but you're not going to do anything with Brandon Coleman, who was one of your top 4 receivers last season. I'm confused as to how, specifically with behind Michael Thomas, and if you want to say behind Michael Thomas really is Alvin Kamara almost, you need to have wide receiver depth, and that's where I really think that in the draft, my biggest thing has been, specifically if you look at the wide receiver sets that the Saints run, whether it's putting Kamara out wide, whether it's using someone to go really, really quick or like quick routes and whatnot, sure-handed Michael Thomas, and then Ted Ginn, who clearly can, even at his age, can still completely breeze by guys, which is amazing to me. I'm never really going to, I don't know why, I just can't forget that touchdown against Carolina, but it was amazing because he just broke off. It was like wide open and waltzed into the end zone, but there's no one else. And what happens if anyone gets hurt? What happens if Michael Thomas gets hurt or Ted Ginn can't go? And that's the thing, is that you're talking about trying to project forward, but you're not necessarily projecting for an injury at a key position like wide receiver for Drew Brees.
Would wide receiver be a position I think this team might look at in the draft in the first round?
Yeah, because if we're talking about the best player available at 27 and you're not really doing a whole lot of work in free agency on the wide receiver market, there's got to be a handful of guys there that, especially in that first round, that might be at that spot that you can easily bring on, that it's either a deep threat, a speedster, or you're going to groom to be the next kind of lockdown guy to be able to be consistently a consistent passing threat for Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees can make a lot of people look good, man. They make a lot of defenses look bad. But why has there been? Because we've talked so much about tight end. Talked so much about tight ends and what tight ends do in the offense, whether you need to have a pass-catching tight end that can catch touchdowns in the red zone, Jimmy Graham, in free agency, or going in the draft and looking at Dallas Goedert or Mark Andrews or whoever else. But there has been so little talk about a deep threat wide receiver adding to a core where you may lose Willie Snead and you may lose Brandon Coleman.
Well, I tell you, the two players that I think stand out if the Saints hold at number 27, two players that I like both of them. They're two different kinds of receivers. Christian Kirk from Texas A&M, LSU fans, SEC fans, quite familiar with Christian Kirk. He's a lot like Ted Ginn Jr. Fast, very elusive, a guy that can play out of the slot, can do a lot of things. Very similar, I think, in some ways to Brandon Cooks to some degree. I like Christian Kirk a lot. He's a leader. He would fit in the Saints lineup right away. I think he would play right away. He's a veteran guy. And then the other guy that's elevated his status perhaps as much as anybody we've seen locally in the last few years is DJ Chark. I mean, there are people talking about him now as a early second round, late first round prospect. 2 months ago, people thought he would be a day 2, day 3 player, but he has knocked the combine out of the park and he performed really well at the Senior Bowl, I think. And so he's a guy that has elevated his stock. Now, he's a guy that can get deep, but he's not like Christian Kirk at all. He's a different kind of receiver. Either way, I think Chark or Kirk would slot in nicely with Ted Ginn Jr. and with Mike Thomas.
And the thing about that, specifically about those two guys in the SEC, is how drastically different both offenses were over the course of their careers in College Station and in Baton Rouge. So for Christian Kirk, you were in an offense that Kevin Sumlin basically molded from his days at Houston and absolutely stretching guys out and putting up a lot of points and having guys go deep. Not so much about true possession was always a key for them, but it was always blowing by guys and getting guys as far down the field as they can and heaving it up. For DJ Chark, the interesting thing about, I think, the arc of his career is that he went from being a guy who they thought that they could use as a reverse screen type of guy to completely changing his game, and that helped with Dan Yetling too, and Steve Ensminger, and bringing guys in that could clearly see his skill set, which for me was not only can he run your slots, he can run your post routes, he can run, all the routes that you need, but if you launch it up to him, he's got a shifty quickness, a very underrated quickness that can get by secondaries deep on really, really deep shots, throwing it up. And I think you're right. If you look at both of those guys, those could easily accentuate what the Saints are trying to do, first with Michael Thomas, and then going past that, and then really being a vertical threat down the field for Drew Brees.
Well, DJ Chark ran a 4.34 40 at the combine. I mean, that is picking it up and putting it down.
He's no longer an unheralded talent when you do that at the combine.
No, the thing I like about Christian Kirk, in addition to some of the intangibles I mentioned, he's a leader. He's kind of a team captain type guy, and the Saints love that kind of makeup in their player personnel. But the other thing I like about him is he's a return guy, and the Saints, we all know, has struggled seemingly forever since Reggie Bush left, or Darren Sproles left, probably more accurate, since Sproles left, to find a return specialist. And here you got a guy, maybe he's the answer, and you bring in a Kirk. He can play that slot receiver position, basically become the heir apparent to Ted Ginn Jr.
Yeah.
He's a lot like Ted Ginn Jr. Ted Ginn Jr. is getting up in age. He hasn't slowed down a lot, but you have to think about these things 2 and 3 years down the road, and then you can put him in on returns right away and be a return guy, and then it saves you a roster spot in the depth of, say, some of the other positions. So I like Christian Kirk.
Yeah. And you take Alvin Kamara out that spot of having to return either punts and kicks and have somebody just as fast and quick.
All right, let's take another break, our final break. When we come back, we'll wrap up Hour 2. You're listening to Dunc and Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.
Alvin Gentry went off.
You can't guess on a foul.
But I think he should have went a little bit further than he did.
Call it both ways.
It's been something that I think should have happened a long time ago. It's almost 3 blind mice that are officiating games.
Eric Asher, weekdays, noon to 2.
You get a strong opinion each and every day.
Howdy, folks. Colonel Sanders here, and boy, do I have a deal for you. The deal with this deal is that you get both a breast and a whole wing when you choose my new 100% white meat KFC $5 fill-up deal. You also get dealt mashed potatoes and gravy, a biscuit, a cookie, and a drink with this here deal. I can't keep dealing this deal forever, though, so you have to go to KFC soon to get the two-piece all-white meat $5 fill-up, because it's only available for a limited time. Deal? Deal. KFC, it's finger-licking good. Tax extra. Prices may vary. Size may vary by location. Extra charge for breast piece and side substitution may apply.
The New Orleans Pelicans have the perfect way for you to do it big with your buds by scoring the Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18. Packages are available for select Pelicans home games throughout the season and include 2 tickets, 4 beers, and a $20 gift certificate to Loft 18, your ultimate indoor golfing experience, all for as low as $50. Do it big with the next Guys Night Out 6-pack, presented by Loft 18 on Thursday, March 22nd against the Los Angeles Lakers. Visit Pelicans.com to plan your guys' night out today.
This Saturday, March 24th at the Shrine on Airline at 3 p.m., Tyrann Mathieu launches the first annual Tyrann Mathieu and Friends Kickball Classic. The evening will feature a celebrity kickball game with current and former NFL athletes, notable LSU alumni, and numerous New Orleans natives and celebrities from the sports and entertainment industry. Proceeds from this event benefit the Tyrann Mathieu Foundation. That's Saturday, March 24th at the Shrine on Airline from 3 to 5 p.m. For more information or to get tickets, go to TyrannMathieuKickballClassic.com.
Spring is in full bloom at Lakeside Shopping Center. Embrace the beauty of the season with the freshest fashion finds at your favorite stores, including Macy's, Dillard's, JCPenney, Aldo, Free People, Sephora, Janie and Jack, and so much more. Lakeside Shopping Center. There's something new in store.
Dunc and Holder now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Duncan Holder, Jeff Duncan, Claude Verdun, Dave DeCorbier for a final segment here on a gorgeous Wednesday morning, I guess we're still morning, technically. You know, I was up early this morning, Claude. I was up really early, guys. I was out on the backside of the fairgrounds doing some reporting, visiting with trainer Tom Amos, who has he has a horse in the Louisiana Derby this Saturday out at Fairgrounds. We're going to talk to Tom. He's going to visit the program on Friday and give us a little preview of the Louisiana Derby. But, man, it's beautiful. There's nothing – if you've never been out there, you can go out there free. You can go out to the fairgrounds in the morning and watch the horses train and work on the backside. Glorious New Orleans weather, these horses, majestic thoroughbreds working their way around the track. And it was a really cool morning out at the fairgrounds. And I'm getting excited. I haven't had a chance since I was over jet setting into London. I hadn't had really a chance to look ahead to the Louisiana Derby. I'm just now getting into it. But Tom Amos trains Lone Sailor, which is a GMB racing product. And the GMB racing, of course, is Gail Marie Benson. This is one of Tom Benson and Gail Benson's horses, the best Derby prospect. And Lone Sailor will be he'll be a long shot. So if you're going out to the track on Saturday and want to invest in a live long shot, as they say, he's probably going to be about 20-1 in this race, maybe more, because he's only won 1 of 7 lifetime starts. But Tom Amos will be training he's the trainer of Lone Sailor. He's going to visit the program on Friday, kind of give us a rundown of what he thinks of the race. And that's a big race. I mean, these horses are be running for a $1 million purse. It's the biggest horse race in Louisiana, and whoever comes out of that, usually the winner for sure, and often the second-place finisher, qualify for the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. So I'm sure there's going to be a great crowd. Looks like we're going to have good weather, and hopefully we'll get a nice visit with Tom Amos on Friday. And he talked about, what Tom Benson meant to his career as a trainer. And I remember, Clyde, a couple of years ago up in Louisville, the Kentucky Derby, when Tom Amos trained Mo Tom and Dallas Stewart had trained Tom's Ready, both of them for GMB Racing in the Kentucky Derby, walking over, making our way to the paddock before the Kentucky Derby with Tom Amos, his wife Colleen, their daughters, Ashley, and working their way across the track with 150,000 fans cheering you on as you lead your horse over from the backside to the paddock. And Tom said it might be a highlight of his incredible training career as a trainer, and that all came about because Tom Benson picked him to be one of his trainers and gave him the horse flesh, if you will, the investment of basically $500,000 to pick out horses, and they picked out Mo Tom and got an entry in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, man. I mean, horse racing to me has always seemed like it's an investment. You know, I've heard
that it is sometimes a bad investment.
Yeah, sometimes a bad investment.
Unfortunately.
If you can, but I think, you know, specifically how diversified the portfolio was among different interests seems to be something that, and I think, you know, talking with Rick Venturi yesterday was a very eye-opening kind of look or a peer into how, for us mere mortals, how Tom Benson operated in terms of how he was clearly thorough in what he wanted to be involved in, and how once he got involved, it was all systems go. There was no half-stepping. There was no moderate, you know, let's tiptoe in before we really get into it. It was, all right, let's do as much research as we can. Let's think about how we can make the best business choices and business decisions for these things. And so for me, it's eye-opening to hear these types of things. And I'm not as well versed in the horse racing circuit and scene as you are. But
you're
clearly,
sort of like you're to horse racing like I am to Premier League soccer.
Yes, yeah. So fair enough. I know that horse.
And there is Lance Saylor, I believe, making an appearance.
Keep those horses at bay.
I'll tell you what stood out to me in the Rick Venturi interview was when he talked about meeting with Tom Benson after they'd fired Mike Ditka, and how he had these two sheets of paper, one showing what the organizational chart for the Saints was with all the different people involved at the top, and what it was going to look like going forward. It was basically Tom Benson and nobody else.
And Blake is like, we're about to blow it up. It's like, okay, sweet. This is what we're going to do now. Relax. It's going to be fine.
And they did. And that was my first day on the job as a New Orleans Saints beat writer for the Times-Picayune.
That's insane.
First day, they blow up the entire organization, fire Mike Ditka, and we begin a coaching search. And I'd just gotten done covering the coaching search at LSU, where they had hired Nick Saban literally 2-3 weeks earlier.
Wow.
So it was a crazy, hectic time in my first year here at the Times-Picayune. I'll never forget that. The Saints bring in Jim Haslett, Randy Mueller, and really got things going. They won a playoff game that first year for the first time in franchise history, and really haven't looked back since then except for that forgettable Katrina season. All right, that's it for Duncan Holder. Went by fast today. I want to thank Todd Graffanini and Will Guillory for being guests on the show. I want to thank Larry Holder for checking in out on at Notre Dame Seminary at the Tom Benson visitation. And Larry will be back in the saddle with us again tomorrow. And we'll have another great lineup of guests, as always, as we continue on this kind of somber, bittersweet week in New Orleans. You're listening to Duncan Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app.
You know, before Boost, our phone bill was obscene. I had to hide it from the kids.